As early as the 17th century, scientists proved that air contains a substance essential for life. Thanks to oxygen, colorless, tasteless, and invisible, we are alive. As altitude increases, air pressure drops, and the air becomes thinner. A single breath on the summit of Everest, 29 feet, delivers 3 times less oxygen than at sea level. Climb there quickly without special equipment, and severe oxygen deprivation will overwhelm you. A feeling of emptiness with each breath, visual disturbances, pain throughout the body, loss of consciousness, and death. High altitude is an extremely hostile environment. Dry air, hurricane force winds, severe weather, and dramatic temperature swings, from plus 30 degrees Celsius during the day to 20 degrees Celsius at night. At the same time, a climber is moving upward while carrying heavy loads. In such conditions, mountaineers sometimes have to live for 2 or 3 weeks. This is only possible with a slow ascent, allowing the body to adapt. That is why climbing Everest takes an average of a month and a half, even though the final push to the summit requires only a couple of days. The rest of the time is spent on acclimatization, adapting to harsh mountain conditions, and above all, to the lack of oxygen. To compensate, a person breathes deeper and more frequently. The cardiovascular system works harder to deliver oxygen to tissues and organs, heart rate increases, blood pressure rises, and blood volume grows. Hormones are released that stimulate the production of red blood cells, hemoglobin levels increase. But adaptation does not happen instantly. For some time, the body suffers from the destructive effects of hypoxia, drowsiness, weakness, headaches. The brain is affected first. Fatigue, dizziness, pressure in the temples appear. Shortness of breath develops, hands and feet grow cold, and strength fades. At first glance, it seems simple. Breathe deeper, let the heart beat faster, problem solved. But it's not that easy. At altitude, carbon dioxide is expelled from the body more quickly, yet it is just as vital as oxygen. Try breathing deeply for 10 seconds. Feel the dizziness. In most cases, mountain sickness passes completely after a few days. To prevent it, climbers ascend slowly and periodically descend to rest. Every new altitude is a stress test for the entire body. The repeated cycle of climb, descend, climb allows time for recovery and mobilization before the next load. After several days, breathing, heart rate, and sleep normalize as the body adapts to the lower oxygen levels. However, everyone reacts to altitude differently. Some acclimatize quickly and without complications, while others develop acute mountain sickness, nausea, vomiting, headaches, restless sleep. Treatment requires stopping the ascent, and if the condition worsens, immediate descent. Despite harsh natural conditions, people have lived for centuries in the highest regions of the planet, in the Himalayas, the Andes, and the Pamirs. Members of the Macarhoca tribe in Peru live at elevations of around 5,000 meters. In Tibet, the Buddhist Rongbuk Monastery stands at 5,100 meters. Highlanders typically have large chests, high levels of red blood cells and hemoglobin, and darker skin that offers better protection from the sun. It is no surprise that the main helpers of any Himalayan expedition are Sherpas, a small ethnic group living at the foot of Everest. If you need a guide, supplies delivered to an 8,000-meter camp, or a bridge built across a 5-meter crevasse in the ice, you need a Sherpa. World records belong to professional Sherpa climbers. A Sherpa has reached the summit of the world 18 times. Pemba Dorje did it in 8 hours and 10 minutes. And Babu Kiri once spent the night on the roof of the world, staying there for a total of 21 hours. Above 6,000 meters, even Sherpas cannot remain permanently. At this altitude, the body operates at its limit, consuming internal reserves that cannot be replenished due to constant oxygen deficiency. Overall condition gradually worsens, immunity weakens, mental abilities and memory decline, and psychological disturbances appear. Climbers lose weight rapidly, up to 10 to 15 kilograms over 6 to 8 weeks. Higher still, above 7,500 meters, lies the so-called death zone. There, the climber's goal is simple: survive. Even the strongest can endure only a few days. No human can resist hypoxia indefinitely. Each of us has a limited margin of safety. Once it is exhausted, increasingly irreversible changes begin. Fluid accumulates in the lungs and brain, a deadly danger. Cerebral edema most often occurs above 7,000 meters, though cases have been recorded at elevations as low as 3,000 to 5,000 meters. One of the first symptoms is impaired coordination and inappropriate behavior. Pulmonary edema typically develops above 4,000 meters. Severe shortness of breath, extreme fatigue, abnormal breathing sounds appear, fingernails and lips turn blue. The patient tries to lie down, but breathing becomes harder. They are forced to stand. That is why ascending without acclimatization is strictly prohibited. A high-altitude doctor's medical kit always includes anti-edema medications. However, the best treatment is rapid descent. Chances of recovery at altitude are close to zero. During ascents, supplemental oxygen equipment is used. The best defense against hypoxia is a cylinder of compressed oxygen, a constant companion of most high-altitude climbers. Oxygen was first brought to Everest by the British in 1922. Sherpas laughed at the idea of English air. The standard Everest setup is for oxygen cylinders per person, but it's better to carry extra. There was a case when a group was trapped by bad weather above 8,000 meters for 5 days and then continued their ascent. What if they had run out of oxygen? But that's like comparing high jumps with and without a pole. Oxygen and no oxygen ascents on Everest are two different sports. Even with the most advanced equipment, mountaineering remains extremely dangerous. Yet people continue to strive for the top of the world despite cold, avalanche, and hypoxia. Why? George Mallory, who died during an Everest attempt in 1924, answered simply, because it's there.